Hey everyone, Sycra here, and in this tutorial I'm going to be covering the proportions of the adult female head. Now, I already have done male head proportions, and if you haven't seen that video, I would recommend looking at that one first, because then I can reference this, or that one in this one, and, save some time. So, to get this guide, same deal. You go to sycra.net, go to resources, and then here, download adult female face proportions guide, click on that and just save this as an image. Alright, so like the male proportions, what I'm going to do is start with the basic head shape. But first, I'm just going to have a new layer and I'm going to fill that with white and reduce the opacity by 50%. And this is just going to allow me to or it's going to allow the lines to show up a bit easier when I draw on top. There we go. Alright, so let's just, or I'm going to explain the actual dimensions of this. So for the female head, it's a bit more narrow than the male head and a bit smaller. So across in width on the front view, it's 1, 2, 3 units across. And vertically, it's 1, 2, 3, and 1/3. 3 and 1/3. And then in the side view, of course, the vertical dimensions are exactly the same, but the horizontal dimensions are 1, 2, 3, 3, and 1/2. So that's basically what you need. 3 and 1/3 by 3 1/2 for side, and 3 by 3 and 1/3 for front. Alright, so what's going to happen is that I'm going to start with, as I said, the basic shape. But the basic shape for the female is a little bit different than the male here, and it's because I've broken it down a bit further to include the cheekbones. So this area is going to be the jaw area, cheekbone, and then this is the temple, and then of course this is going to be the top of the head and the chin. So I'm going to start with the chin, and the chin is pretty much going to occupy this area, this second column. So I'm going to get that in, and what I'll do then is get in this cheekbone area. And I'm sort of bringing it, I'm starting at the top and sort of curving it towards this line. And then I'm going to continue that, but not like just connected like that. I'm going to bring in the jaw then, so that we've got a nice curve for the jaw. Let me just erase some of this. And now from the cheekbone, I'm going to bring it out, and it's actually two parts. Like this part goes up and then it connects into the like the eyebrow region, but I'm going to just bring it out for the sake of this towards this point, these intersections, and then I'm gonna get the side of the head in. Okay, and it always looks a bit odd before putting in the ears. So what I'm going to do is get those in. And the ear occupies this whole second row in height. And it fits quite nicely within this box. And it's similar to the male, where the top of the ear is somewhat lined up with the brow. The bottom of the ear lines up with the nose. In women, it can be a bit smaller. but in general, you know, it's pretty close. So it's a good idea to just, you know, have that in mind if you want to draw a woman and do it fast. You can remember that, yeah, okay, the brows are going to be roughly maybe a little higher, and the nose might be, you know, lined up with the bottom of the ear there. Now let's get in the side view. So I'm going to start at the back and just create a line. I'm going to put a line on the top, and this is just so I have a starting point and an end point. And I'm just going to make a nice curve to connect those two. So that's the back of the head. Now let's come forward. And I think I'm going to start with the nose, actually, because it's just going to be a bit easier. So the nose is going to inhabit this region, and there's a little guide for the nostril, so we can get that in. And then, like in the male head one, I mentioned that you could sort of imagine a ball and then draw around that. So I'm going to lightly actually put in a ball, and then I'm going to erase it, but this line sort of followed the ball shape. And then it's going to come in towards this line, and then here it's going to be the forehead. So with women, you can have it so the forehead and then the chin, this is all sort of lined up, but often you'll get it where the forehead can be a bit further back and the mouth area comes a bit forward. So it's really your preference. Having the forehead a bit further back gives more of like almost like a childlike quality, so maybe more of a cute quality. So I'm gonna just bring the nose a bit back, and then I'm gonna push the forehead a little bit forward, and the brow is going to be in here. Now for the man, I defined the brow more like, not that extreme, but I defined it. And for the woman, I'm not going to really do that too much at all. It's going to still be there, of course, but I'm not going to really define it. And I'm going to create this smooth line, and maybe I'll push this a bit further out. So the head, you could think of it in a way that, you know, it almost fits in a big circle, like here. You could have a circle, and then bring in the jaw like that. And that might be a fast way, but for now we're just dealing with proportions, not, you know, how to draw the face really quick. So let's get the back of the head, and now I'm going to jump around a bit further, and I'm going to start at the ear. So again, why am I starting at the ear? Because the ear is useful for finding where the jaw connects to. So in this case, the ear is going to occupy this region, and of course the height is the same as in the front view. So I'm going to start it here, and again, what I should do first is I have this straight line here. I'm going to angle that a bit because the ear is usually slightly angled back, and then sort of fill in the rest of the shape. So that's the ear. And now for the jaw, it's going to connect roughly like this, but this is going to go behind the ear. So how can I say, the back of the jaw starts a little behind this earlobe. And that's, you know, pretty important to note, because if you start it too far forward, the ear's gonna look like it's not a part of the face. And if you start it right here, it's almost like you've got this strange cut, and that's gonna look wrong as well. So make sure you start the jaw behind the ear, come forward, or you could start at the chin and go back, but again, you end behind the ear. And now, as I said, we could push the whole mouth region out a bit, but for the purpose of this one, I'm not going to. So I'm going to pick up at the nose and then go down, create this lip. So for the lip, this upper lip region, the shape, if I exaggerate it, is you have the nose. Oh boy, let me draw it here, I guess. You have the nose, and then it goes in, right? So here's the nose and the nostril, and this goes this way, then it comes out a little bit, then it goes around, then it goes down, then it goes this way, and then you have skin coming this way. So then we go this way, and then you go down, and then you go out, and then a little bit out, and then this is the lip. So you get this sort of, and that's a bit exaggerated, but you get that sort of shape. Like, I guess simplified, it's like that. Then you can bring the lip down. So here we go. So I've got that, and then I'm going to bring the upper lip back, and it's going to stop around here. And the lower lip, usually, not always, but usually it starts a bit further back, and I'm going to bring that out. So I had the upper lip sort of go over this line right here. This line, it goes, you know, to that side, and the lower lip is going to start towards that side. So we've got that lower lip, and then we're going to tuck in and come out for the chin. And there we go. Now, usually for women, this area from the back of the jaw to the chin, it's not that defined. So you could make this quite light. And often what happens as well is, more so with women, is that sometimes, and this depends on your fitness level as well, if you have more fat on your body, what'll happen is you'll get more of a double chin. But often, especially I notice it with women, you'll get, it almost comes back that way. So it's, and then it goes around, and then this part connects to the neck. So you get this nice, I don't know, like S shape, and that is pretty, I guess, pretty. That's pretty. All right, so now let's do, just connect the back of the head to finish off the shape. And oh, what I did there was I was just getting a feel of the volume of the neck. And what I'm going to do is start the neck back here, and then bring it up and connect it. Now the back is going to come actually probably more like that around, then we go down. So it's roughly about the same level as the ear, maybe a bit lower than the ear. And maybe I made the ear a little on the big side. I could shrink that down just a tad and do that maybe for the front view as well. So there. So now I got that. And let's put in the lips. So I'm just going to define the lips for the front view. Now, depending on the woman, what you could do is kind of dip down here in the front. So if I zoomed in, it would be like, here's a lip, right? And then I could go like this, or I could do it like that. And you have the skin on the lip, or how do I explain this? Like, you have the skin part, right? And then you have the lip part. And the lip part can vary. So let me just draw it and then shade it. So this is what I'm talking about. Now notice how there's a bit of skin showing right here. You could have it like that, or for thin lips, for thin lips, what you can do is actually just start that skin a bit lower and then have that, or start the lip portion a bit lower. And then for really full lips, you can push that out. But notice that I didn't really change the actual silhouette of the lip too much. And you can change the silhouette, but it's not necessary. Sometimes you can just indicate the fullness of the lips based on how much skin is showing, so that's always good to keep in mind. So I'm just going to bring this down, and remember that the upper lip overlaps the lower lip. So I created a shape showing that, where we can get the feeling that this, and if I zoom in, what I'm doing is I have the lip, and then this part comes up and over, and the bottom lip is underneath that, right? So now it looks like this top is going over, and then this is coming out. And I'm just going to complete it with the bottom lip. And the same thing applies for the bottom lip. Like, I have this basic outline, but I could start the skin really small like that and have really thin lips, or really fat like that and get very full lips. And I'm just going to keep it pretty much level. And usually, not always, but usually the lower lip ends a bit sooner than the upper lip in terms of distance towards the corner of the mouth. So there we go. And I can actually push this out a bit if I want a bit more fullness to the lips. And I'm just gonna shade the upper lip, because if I don't, for some reason it looks a bit odd. And I'm just going to do the same thing for the front view. So the mouth is going to be basically in this area, and I can start just by indicating this area, which is right here, just indicating it, and that would be that, I don't know, that crease. And then I'm going to put in like a little V shape, which signifies this region right here. And then I'm going to connect it. And of course, you can have different shapes to this. You can have the lips, the corners of the lip go lower, so that you've got more of like this shape. It's more exaggerated. And then you would have your lips like that. Or you could have it higher as well. And then you get more of like, looks a bit more thin. So it's up to you how you want to do it. I'm just going to create a very generic straight one, because that's what this is for. And yes, I have to make the disclaimer that these proportions, you know, they're just generic proportions. It's just to help you get used to them. I never really draw with these things. Like, I don't have a picture of this open whenever I draw. You just start with this and you sort of memorize, you know, what's what the basic proportions are. And maybe you actually do have this open in the beginning, and then as soon as you get comfortable and you've memorized it, then you don't need this anymore. You might keep in mind things like, well, the ears are from the nose to the brow, and check your drawing. And if you have a drawing like this, and you have the eyes here, and the ears here, and the nose here, it's like, oh, that doesn't look quite right. Maybe it's because the ears need to be bigger from the brows to the nose. So all these things are useful for checking, but it's not that it's not useful, but it's not necessary to draw this or have this open all the time, especially later on. So there we go, we've got the lips in, and now let's just shade those. And you can also indicate here, which is here. See how it goes in? And because of that, this is often casting a shadow, because the mouth, it's like, if you could imagine a barrel, the mouth is on this barrel. And then this portion would be the bottom of that barrel. And then the chin is its own thing coming out, doing that sort of thing. So you'd get the mouth here, bottom of the lip here, and then this going in, if that makes any sense. Hope it does. So, just going to indicate right here on the front view, just a bit. And, you know, it's up to you. You could shade it very lightly if you want. And I can shade inside that area too. And you could also add it in the side view if you want. But it's good to keep it very light if you do that. And yeah. It's just like, you know, with women, especially when you have laugh lines or things, just because you know it's there, it doesn't mean you include it. Or if you do, you have to make it super light. Because in reality, when you look at things, the value is actually pretty light. And the reason that we pick up on those areas is that our eyes are very good at detecting subtle value differences. So if I add this as strong as I think I see it, it looks like that. And then you end up with people who look old every time you add certain folds, like these folds, even though you might see them in the image. It's like, well, what's the value? So anyway, moving on. So let's get the nostril in first. And again, if I think of the ball, then it's easy to just place a nostril. I'm just avoiding hitting that ball. And then there we go. There's a nostril. And without getting, I think I'm going way too much into detail of each individual feature. Probably I shouldn't be doing that. But just remember that this nostril goes around and then that way. So this piece of skin is actually going inside there. And we can do that for the front view. Just indicate the sides of the nostril. And I can even draw that ball again. And then put the nostrils in around that ball. And then push these up in there. And usually this bottom area is in shadow, so what happens is you don't really notice how the nostril wings go up and around, because usually this is all, you know, in shadow. And anyway, so that's that. It's the nose. Looking okay. So now let's get to the eyes. Now, the eyes in the man, what happens is the nose is sort of one eye width, and then the eyes are another eye width well, of course, because that's the width of the eyes, is one eye width. For females, the nose is a bit more narrow. It's not as wide. So you could keep the eyes being one eye width and then have one eye width in between, and then just have the nose a little bit smaller than that. Or you could also make the eyes a bit further out that way, or you could just do both. So I'm going to do a bit of both, and I'll have a little bit more than one eye width apart for the eyes. So let me just indicate that. And these lines that I put down are going to be the top of the eye. And for the width, let's get the end. So now with women, what happens is there's a bit less distance usually from here to here. And I mean, even when I say that, I feel a bit like, that all depends. Because there's so many different types of faces, right? So, I don't know. Take it all with a grain of salt. I'm going to get that in, and then going to, and again, you could put this point, and this, if this is a corner, you could keep that higher or lower. So for this case, maybe that's good. It's just maybe a bit higher than the corner of the eye. So the inner corner is a bit higher up, or a bit lower down than the outer corner. And let's give the eyelid crease. And let's add an eye on the side view. So now in the side view, it's going to be more like, I think I covered it in the male head, like that shape, like a triangle. It's not going to be, like, don't do this. Don't draw an eye and then do a circle. Unless you're going for a very specific type of style. Yeah, you're going to want to fit the eye in a little more, I don't know, subtly. And of course, it's going to line up the same as the front view. So the top of the eye is going to be roughly here, and it's going to fit in this area. So let's get that in. And I'm drawing this kind of shape, and then it sort of goes like over just at the end. It goes, and then a little bit that way. So I get that in. And then the front of the eye, it's got a bit of curve to it because of, well, it's an eyeball, right? And then also the lens on top is curved, so you get two curves. But from far, it's okay to simplify it just like, you know, more flat. That's not a big deal. So I'm gonna simplify it like that. And then I'm just gonna add the lower lid. And then let's not forget the crease of the eye and the upper eyelashes. So the eyelashes, remember, they start underneath, and they go down and then up. I don't know if they ever go, maybe they go the other direction. I've seen eyes that go like straight, the eyelashes go straight down. And I've seen them go down and up, and then down and that way, or down or that way. But I've never seen it go like that way and down. So I guess that's a rule. You always go up, or down and up. So I'm just gonna add the eyelashes, maybe a few on the bottom, and then the upper lid. So it's important to remember, again, the upper lid goes over this eyeball. So if the eye itself stops here, you can't have it like this, because that doesn't make sense. This eyelid has to go over that eye. It needs to be able to cover it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it go over. Then I'm going to get this crease in. And again, the creases are optional. You know, if you have a lot of Asian eyes, they do not have this crease, and it looks fine. So you don't need to add that. And yeah. So there's that, and I forgot the eyelashes and the iris for the front view, so let's go ahead and add that. Add a bit of shading to it. And yeah, the eyelashes. So it gets thicker on this side of the eye and not so strong on that side for eyelashes. And what I'm actually doing is I'm just doing like lines like that over each other. I'm not doing that type of thing to get in the eyelashes. Like I could add that after the fact, one or two here or there, but I'm not going to be drawing all those because it doesn't look like that, and it takes too long, right? Like you'd have to layer so many, and it's almost like, well, just simplify it. You can block it in like that. And of course, people with no eyebrows look a little odd. My apologies if you have no eyebrows, but usually it looks a little bit odd. So let's add eyebrows. Now the eyebrows for the man were kind of on a line like that, and then I sort of just blocked them in. And that's a very worried looking person. For a woman, they kind of start below and then they go at an angle. And again, not always, but it's somewhat common. And so I'm going to get those in. And they tend to be more thin than a man's eyebrows, especially if they are thicker. They tend to be thicker in this area, and then they get thinner in the back. So especially if a girl has sort of, I don't know, what's it called, where you like pluck the eyebrows. I don't know. Anyway, done that to her eyebrows. And same as when I was doing the man, you have the two directions. You have the eyebrows going this way, and then around here they switch direction. So I think for a girl, even what I have is sort of thick eyebrows, so I could trim those. And then for the side view, same thing. Remember that you have a brow ridge here, right? So the eyebrows are going to go around like that. They're not just going to be like straight across or like that. Like they actually go slightly in and then come out and then go down. And on the side view, you'll see less of this portion because that's sort of on going this way, and you'll see a bit more of that. So pretty much that's it. Then you just have the hairline, and oh, I should add a little bit of detail to the ears. Probably not too much. with all the features in women, you want to keep it understated. You don't want to add too much detail anywhere, the soft, except for maybe the eyes and maybe the lips, but usually the softer you make it, the better. And get that ear in. And yeah, I'm just going to use these kind of dashing in lines to get the basic sense of where the hairline is, and it pretty much is in this region. So I'm going to get that, and I'm going to pull the hair back and then sort of straighten it out, and I'll do that here too. Pull the hair back and have more of the forehead showing. So for the man, I kind of, first of all, the eyes were a bit more inside, and then I also sort of blocked it off like that. For women, it's going to be a lot softer, and it's going to be pushed to the outside more. And then if you do have any kind of hair on top, remember it goes on top. So you can't just bring that down and call that hair. You would have to have the hair on the outside, you know. So if I do have hair here, I can pull that out, and then that goes around and then back, and maybe it goes behind the ear. You could have, you know, that strand of hair coming down, and then maybe it tucks in behind and then keeps going down. So, and of course, depending on the hairstyle, you can change hairstyles a lot, but let's just give her the same hairstyle. And then this is going up, goes back, comes in there. And I'm just gonna soften the chin a bit in the front view. It was looking a bit too squared off, which again, you can do. It's not a problem. You can have a square chin, that's fine. Just looks a little less feminine. And get the neck in. And for women, the neck is much more narrow than for men. And even on heavier women, the neck is still, you know, usually much narrower than it would be on a man. And you could also maybe indicate the cheekbones if this woman has particularly strong cheekbones, then you could indicate those. So I think that's it. Let me just raise the opacity. Yeah, so that's the proportions of the female adult head. Hope it helped, and thanks for watching.